Yeah, fake live. Okay, welcome DLs. Mr. Larson's not here, even though you're not there either right now. Um, but class, glad you let me walk in the door again. Help you out if I can. Okay, we're on page 373, 12.6, ratios related to sales. Okay, now, as a business, what's your main priority? Do what? Finish what? To make money. Okay? And what you're going to need to do is make sure that you're bringing in more money than what you're putting out. Okay? What you're putting out is all of your expenses, your liabilities. Okay? Everything coming in is your the term just anyway, your credits, not credits, but accounts receivable. Okay? And so you always want to make sure that you have more accounts receivable coming in. But on the other hand, you need to make sure that you have enough supplies, stuff on hand, items that you're selling on hand, to where you can kind of keep going and not, like McDonald's does sometimes. Oh, sorry, we're out of um, ice ice cream, so we can't sell any ice cream cones, or we're out of fillet of fishes, so we can't serve those sandwiches. Okay. Well, that's poor management, to be honest. A good manager would make sure that everything that they have in stock is what they need for an average sale. Okay. And how do they determine their average sales? Well, that's what we're kind of talking about today. Coming up with a proper balance in a company. Ratios related to sales. There's two types of ways that we can do that. One is what's called the average collection period. Okay, and what we're going to basically do that is take the year, bring it down into a time frame where you need to collect your assets. Second is called the inventory turnover. Okay, and pretty much those terms, those ideas, tell the whole story. Now, let's take the first one. The average collection period. By definition, it just means that it is the measure of the number of days that are needed to collect your accounts receivable. Okay? And a good rule of thumb is when you are doing this and you have it in mind, is that your collection period should never be more than 1 1/3 times the credit period. Okay? So as your book says, if the credit period is 10 or 30 days, then your average collection period should not go beyond 40, which is 1, the 30, and then a third of 30 is 10. So you add 10 to 30 and you get your 40. Your collection period should never go beyond that 1 1/3 period. Okay? If you do, you're going to run the risk of not balancing your books at the end of the month or end of the period or end of the year, or you might be just losing money if you're going to do that. So you got to be careful with that. Now, okay, I'm just making sure which board they're talking about here. Now online, I don't know if you can see if I go to the board or not. If you can see that or not. Mainly everything is there for you, but anyway. So how do we find the average collection period? Okay, look over there on the right column. You have two different formulas that they're using. We're on page 373. we have to go through both of these steps to figure it out. Okay? So we're going to take the average daily sales, okay, whatever that is in our numbers. And now, in the book, they're probably going to give you most of these numbers, but your average daily sales will equal your annual sales. Annual means your yearly sales, divided by 365, because there's 365 days in a year. Okay? That's going to give you your average daily sales. Then the next step on that is we're going to take the average collection period, which is what you would find, okay, or what is the final answer to what we're trying to find. So to find that, we're going to take accounts receivable, and they'll give you a lot of these answers in your problems, divided by your average daily sales, which we found in the first formula. Okay? But basically, that's it. So let's look at what they did with the model problem for that one problem. The Bradley Street Garage had total annual sales of 198,000. Okay? So we've got 198,000. And has 11,400 in accounts receivable. What we've got to do is we've got to find the average collection period to the nearest whole day. Okay? So we're going to take the 198,000, divide that by 365. Okay? And that's going to give you, as your book says, your average daily sales of $542. Okay? Now, that may have come out to 541.6 or something like that. So we're just rounding up to the nearest whole dollar or rounding down, however the case may be, just to give us an exact whole number that we can work with. Okay? So this is your first step. Then we're going to take the next step is your average collection period is what we need to finally find out. So we're going to take the accounts receivable, which is in the problem, of 11,400. Okay? And we're going to divide that by our average daily sales, 542. Okay? Once we've done that, we're going to come up with, as your book says, 21 days, okay, for your collection period. That's all that company, Bradley Street Garage, is allowing to collect the money that they need. If they go beyond that, it's going to cut into their assets. If they get the money before that, that's more money in their pocket. Because now they can use that money to purchase other things that they need to. Okay? So does that kind of make sense? Your total sales divided by 365 days a year gives you how much per day? Taking your, what was the 11.4 called? The accounts receivable, 11,400, divided by the amount per day, gives you how many days you need to collect that money. Okay? Simple enough, right? Any questions about that? Okay. That's step number one. Step number two. We'll do it over there. Is your inventory turnover. Inventory turnover is basically just a measure of how many times the value of the inventory is sold in 1 year. Okay? Now, good business sense. If your inventory is not selling, what's going to happen to your business? It's going to go in the tubes. Okay? You are not a good business owner at that point. Okay? If your inventory is low, what does that tell you? You need to go purchase more, which means that things are selling. Okay? Or maybe you didn't order enough at the time. But sales are good because you're not having all of this surplus stuff sitting around. Okay? And then based upon your company, if it's food items, then you've got to watch your expiration dates. You got to make sure that you are moving all of this item in category A, moving it out before a certain date, okay, which could fall into this 21 days because maybe that's part of the expiration date, okay? So you need to make sure that everything out of category A is getting sold within that 21 days. Otherwise, everything that goes into 22, 23, 24 days has expired, and you're not going to be able to sell it because people don't want to buy expired things. Okay? Companies get away with that because they don't let the customer know what the expiration dates are. But things spoil. Okay? And if trying to think of the term now. A person would come in and they write companies up, whether it's a good or whether they're doing bad, or they may get them on that if they're not moving things out properly. But that's all involved with the sales. Your inventory turnover is this. Look at the formula down at the bottom of the page. Inventory turnover equals your sales divided by your average inventory. Okay? That's our basic formula for this one. So a little bit easier, just one step in essence. So our sales divided by our average inventory. Okay? Your book says that there's two methods used. You can do it one of two ways, but each way consists of just one step. It says dividing the cost of the goods sold by the average inventory, which sounds a little bit more complicated. Or you can just say dividing the amount of sales by the average inventory. Okay, so either way will get you your answer. Okay? So let's take that and the problem on page 374, let's look at what they did. It says Fan Bazaar has an average inventory of $12,000. The annual sales last year were $42,000. Find the inventory turnover. Okay? So all they're doing is taking the 42,000, dividing it by that 12,000, which was the average inventory. Okay? And coming up for their answer on that, they come up with 3.5. Okay? As their average turnover, inventory turnover. And that's the simple nutshell. Putting it all in a nutshell. Okay? Any questions? I know went through it a little bit quick or whatever, but not a whole lot there to talk about necessarily, but that's it right there. Okay? This is finding inventory. And this is dealing with sales. Okay? Okay. Any questions? Okay, he gave you homework of problems 1 through 10, page 374. Okay, 12.6. Have fun. DLs, when you see this, okay, don't be shocked by who you see. I am not Mr. Larson, okay? But hopefully that helped you guys out too, okay? DLs, I'm going to sign off on the recording right now, so have a great day.